Chance Massaro, thank you, Brian. Chance Massaro was the first program we had at the senior center that I sold for Rotary in 2004, 2005. And he just does a tremendous presentation on memory, on brain power, and how to access more of your brain power, enhance your memory, and retain your memory. A lot of just very interesting things. And of note, Joe, yes, the last Rotary thing that John Necker really liked was Chance Massaro. And was able to pick up you're able to pick up a lot of things. It's a fascinating presentation. And Chance has an MA in education from San Francisco State in 1995, and it makes the circuit quite a bit in Sonoma County and does a tremendous job. So Chance, welcome. Again, I apologize to you that I have to leave early today. But you're on.
So we don't have the words on the screen, but does everyone remember the words? How do you do, on speaker, how do you do? Is there anything that we can do for you? Thanks for coming here today. We are with you all the way. How do you do, on speaker, how do you do?
First, I want to thank Terry for running out and telling us where he went to find. Can you hear me?
No. We're going to give you a laugh.
Okay. Thank you very much, Terry, for running around. And I don't know where you had to go to find this whiteboard.
It's a Masonic lodge, so you really don't want to know.
Oh, okay. Anyway, good morning, Sunrise, Sebastopol. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Terry, for inviting me to come. Some of you do know me in relation to my 15 years of work in Sonoma County with memory, helping people to understand how memory works and to improve their memory, to help them in that way. And first thing I wanted to do in relation to that is if you had some expectation that I might have something to do with memory, that you could ask a question. So I just want to get that out of the way. Does anybody have a question about memory or the brain or neurology that they want just plain old answered? No. Fabulous. Okay. So I'm here to talk with you today about stuff that you already do and could do a bunch more of. Let me just start by asking a quick question. How many of you speak to groups of people? Could I see a show of hands? Keep your hands way up there so we can see them. Look around how many of your fellow Rotarians speak to groups. Now, in relation to that, keep your hand up there. I'd like you to show us all, an evaluation of your results. In other words, if your results are really kind of sorry and don't get you much, then you would show a fist. If your results of your talk get you a little bit of response, and the results are admirable, 1 or 2 or 3 fingers would go up. If your presentations really, bust the doors down, and you get terrific results, hold up 5 fingers, and then I'd like you to look around. Oh, I see a lot of hands went down. So you see we have some 3s, a 4, congratulations, Dan. And there's a 5, thank you very much, excellent, look around. Here's some 2s and 3s, so thank you for putting your hand up. And let me say that in addition to all the cool things that you folks do in your meetings, this is another addition of bringing in the personal into what you're talking about with a group. Bringing people's bodies into the room. So it can be very, very exciting. You feel differently, you see differently, you hear differently when your body is included. So you can ask a question of your audience at any time, how many of you, and then you can use the 5-finger evaluation system and really see who you're talking to. So there are just a couple of people here who are not extraordinarily pleased with their presentations, so I will proceed. I want you to know that the things that we're talking about here today, that I'm talking about here today, are equally useful in one-on-one relationships. They're good, these are techniques that can help you in a sales presentation. Has a lot to do with things like that we call neuro-linguistic programming and neurobiology. We're talking about your own manipulation of your own hormones and neurotransmitters. Anybody know what a neurotransmitter is? Yes, what's a neurotransmitter, please?
It is the reaction between the synapses.
A neurotransmitter is the chemical that makes the synapses work between the neurons in your brain. And we kind of think of those as something that just happened. But I want you to understand that so many of the things that the Rotarians do in their meetings facilitates the creation and dispersal of very happy chemicals. So I wanted to work on that this morning, and I'd also like to invite you at any time to raise your hand and ask a question, because I don't have, when am I supposed to be done here?
25 after.
25 after, okay, great. So at any time during my presentation, if you'd like, please raise your hand and ask a question. My presentation today is based on the work of a woman named Amy Cuddy, who is a neuropsychologist, and you can find Amy Cuddy on the internet at TED Talks. So if you're interested in this work, Amy Cuddy and her staff are doing wonderful experiments with people in relation to the body-mind, how your body and mind work together. And the body has a mind of its own. So I just want to reiterate something that you already know. You go to a Rotary meeting, and what do you get? Everybody stands and does a hand motion, right? And they say a few words in relation to the flag. They thereupon hear some kind of inspirational something, right? And they sing. Now, it's important to remember the importance of music, because your brain has many specific areas where it responds to music. On the left side, it's responding to beat and regularity and beginning, middle, and end. And on the other side, it's responding to the harmony and the melody and the beauty and the emotion of a song. So you notice Joe, when he's leading us, oh my God, mine eyes have seen the glory. And we're all there, aren't we? We are a tribe. We are suddenly transformed with these actions into a tribe where we can feel comfortable enough to open our wallets, right? So those of you who do speak to groups, give yourself the opportunity occasionally to get people to do some of these kinds of things. Salute the flag, or salute somebody else, or sing a song, or say a chant, listen to a poem, any kind of something that breaks the mold of what a speaker often does. What a speaker often does is stand behind a podium, blah, 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 blah. But if you can get people engaged with their bodies in what it is you're doing, you're much more likely to get follow through. So I did put some things on the table for you. There is a flyer here that talks about the basic difference between a speaker and an audience. And what we're working with right now is the difference between an audience member whose job description is to sit down and be quiet, and a participant whose job description is, talks about raising your hand, asking a question, making trouble of some sort. So that's what I am about. I have an interesting way of looking at the PowerPoint. This isn't it. Here it is. Can everybody see this? Okay. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate the whiteboard first. So, thank you so much. One of the things that you know when you're giving a talk to people is that every person who walks through the door and comes in has a world behind them. They just got out of bed, they got dressed, showered, whatever, and then they came in and there they were listening to you. So the idea is that if you want your audience to be on fire about your presentation, it's important to remember that they have a lot going on already. And think of Terry, he's buzzing out today. And so how much of that is he going to get, or somebody else? So there are many influences on an audience's thinking, and you want to be the primary one. If you can, and notice again the meal, the glorious meal that we had here with eggs and ham and taters and melon and berries and all that kind of stuff, really appeals to our senses, wakes us up, makes us whole creatures as we eat those delicious eggs and that really wonderful fresh fruit. So the more you can aid your audience in being connected with their body and their senses, the more they're going to be with you, the more they're going to be listening, and the more they're likely to follow through. One of the very simplest things that you can do is go to Oliver's or Whole Foods or some of these different markets and buy some peppermint oil. Peppermint oil has been known since the time of the Greeks to help people with their memory. Likewise, rosemary is a good one. But you can use this on people's flyers, on your card, on different kinds of things, and you can wake up more of the whole person to whom you are speaking. So keep in mind about peppermint oil. Very subtle. You will be hard-pressed to find a person who doesn't like it, and pure peppermint oil has so many benefits. It's really quite a blessing. Is there a question so far?
What do you do with the peppermint?
Pardon me?
Throw it on the people, or?
You can do just about anything with it. Put it on yourself. One of the things that I loved here about this Rotary Club, I saw a whole bunch of hugging over here at the entrance. Wow, that's great. A few drops here, and every hug is going to be memorable and interesting. I often will use rosemary, sprigs of rosemary on the table. Mint, of course, is another great one. It doesn't last like rosemary does, but it does have really good personal kinds of responses. Yes, sir?
Oh, I was going to ask if, like peppermint candies, like you have them melting in mouth.
Yeah.
How's that working? I mean, it's got some mint.
Well, there again, you're adding the taste angle to it. So there's a very interesting thing about peppermint candy or peppermint gum. It's a good consideration to give people gum during one of your talks, peppermint gum especially, because memory is context-based. In other words, the context in which you experience something is going to be very important in how long you remember it. If you have people chewing peppermint gum or chewing on peppermint candy, they're getting the taste, saliva, and what this does, this activates the vagus nerve. Does anybody know what the vagus nerve is? Vegas means wanderer. So Las Vegas is a whole bunch of wanderers, right? But the vagus nerve starts in the brain stem, and this nerve goes to all of your organs. And it's the most basic part of your brain. And if you are excited, if you are scared, if you are resentful, or if you are angry, the brain stem is going to tell the body, get on alert. So that's the acetylcholine and adrenaline and all these other chemicals that get us ready to fight or flight. On the other hand, when you're eating, things tend to slow down. The vagus nerve is telling your heart, your liver, your spleen, your pancreas, and your gut, everything's okay. So it's a really good idea to use peppermint candy or gum. And you're going to get that saliva, the swallowing, and the vagus nerve is out there working for you, keeping your audience relaxed. Thanks for the question. Did I see another hand? Was somebody else interested in something here? Okay, so sometimes you can ask people who are there for a reason. They came in the door because of an announcement or a flyer or something they saw on the board. You can ask them, what do they want from the presentation? So I asked you at the beginning, because I have a reputation hereabouts in memory, if you have a question about memory. Now I'll ask you, in relation to the body-mind, in relation to multimodal learning, are there any questions? Is there something you would like to learn for your process, interacting with other people? No. So what we're trying to say here is that these ideas of singing, pledging, reading a poem, doing something together like that, is pulling people together with their bodies. So right now I'd like you to do, if you would please, a little body scan. As you're sitting there, I know see Joe with his 2 feet flat on the floor. And what I'd all like you to do is just take your brain as you breathe through your body. Start with your feet. Do one leg at a time. Think about all the bones in your feet. Oh my goodness. And you can talk to your body as you go along. Ask your legs, how you doing? Ask your calf, how you doing? At the same time, please take a nice, easy, deep breath. Come up into your pelvis. Think about what your body's doing with that lovely breakfast that we had. Thank you again for that breakfast. Can you sense your heart? Can you feel your heart? How is your heart? Where are your hands? Interesting to think about the hands, because of course the hands are an ultimate expression of what's inside of us. And if you do study neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, you're very attentive to how people hold themselves and how they move their bodies. So right now you get an opportunity to think about your own body and what it's doing. Here's an interesting thing. Your body is running on 2 things, basically: chemistry and electricity. That's what's happening. We don't understand memory or thinking at all, because what it is a bunch of cells talking to each other with calcium and potassium and a bunch of other chemicals. One thing we do know, however, is that your posture and your gesture come from inside of you. They express your feelings at the moment. One of the most interesting things for me is to see somebody talking on a cell phone, like they're walking down the street and they're talking on a cell phone and they're gesturing as though it's communication. You can tell in that moment that it's not intended as communication. In fact, most of us, when we gesture, we don't even know that we're doing it until somebody says, how come you're waving your hands around so much, right? But I want you to think about one little thing. If you have your hands touching one another, this is a move to complete an electrical circuit in your upper body, and it is comforting. It's comforting. So you can actually ask your friends, or you ask somebody to just touch their hands, or make a gesture of interlacing their fingers. Because what happens is that a person will be calmer when they are completing that circuit. Did you want to say something? So it's really great to realize that, and if you find yourself holding your hands or interlacing your fingers, you can say, I'm maybe wanting to comfort myself. That's a good thing. And it will help to comfort you. You're uniting your thoughts with your actions. And that's what we want to do in this presentation of thinking about how you come in source to what you want in terms of your body-mind. So we're always looking for breath. One of the things that happens, of course, is you're seated. So your breath is somewhat compromised when you're seated. So we want to just encourage ourselves to open up, open up, open up. I want you to think about, just right now, very quickly, think about 2 burners or 3 burners for your breathing. When you breathe with your relaxed belly, your belly comes out because the lungs are pushing down. So that's one burner, is down here. The next is your ribs, and I'm fascinated with the ribs with the intercostal muscles that open and lift. And then finally, the breath is coming all the way up to just under your shoulders. Take a deep breath and see if you can feel that. Feel that breath coming all the way up, just below your shoulders. So we don't breathe that way most of the time, but it's so healthy. I work a lot with seniors, and what I notice consistently with seniors is that they're breathing about a quarter of what they could breathe. So I'm encouraging you to remember several times a day, take a nice, easy, deep breath. It will calm you, it will give you oxygen to think better and perform like a champion anytime you want. So the breath is really valuable. So this is the center of what I want to share with you. And I'm going to take just a second here and write this down in a way that you can remember. D-O-S-E. This is what we're looking at, and you can see up here on the screen. And Bill, thank you so much for setting this up. Appreciate that. There are a lot of chemicals in your body. Your brain is operating, sloshing around right now with about 30 different chemicals, doing a whole variety of things, some of which are in your command and some of which are pretty hard to get to. But the one that we want to talk about, the 3 happy chemicals I want to share with you and ask you to remember and use in your presentation is D-O-S-E, dopamine. Who knows what dopamine does? Anybody know, have an idea what dopamine is or does? Okay. Dopamine is your reward chemical. When you get what you want, when you get what you were after, when you get a surprise that pleases you, your body squirts out a bunch of dopamine. It doesn't last more than about 10 or 15 minutes, but you know the elation of opening a present that was really something that you wanted. Your body is swimming around in dopamine, and your brain feels, yay, that's great. So this is always the thing we want to do when we're speaking with people, whether it's one-on-one or in a large group. We want them to have an experience of getting what they want. The next one I'm going to orient here is O, which is oxytocin. Somebody know about oxytocin? Wow, I'm really in the right room. Thank you very much for having me. Oxytocin is considered the bonding chemical. And you notice again, the Rotarians, the first thing you did this morning, shake hands with the people around you, right? When you are touching other people, you are generating oxytocin. Now, of course, the handshake is culturally accepted, and you can go from there into the arm shake, right? Or ultimately the hug, which is what we saw out here. So what I want you to see is that humans are herd animals. We are tribal creatures. And the more we can encourage ourselves to feel like that, to feel that we belong, the more we are going to enjoy the presentation and follow through afterwards. The third chemical is serotonin. Anybody know about serotonin? Anybody want to tell us anything about serotonin? Sleep. Sleep? Serotonin has an awful lot to do with 2 interesting things. Going after something and connecting with people in relation to where am I in the hierarchy of my tribe. So the more serotonin you have, the more you are goal-oriented, you're moving forward, you're looking for what am I going to do next, what am I going to do next? And we had a good deal of that this morning. And then endorphin. Everybody knows about endorphins, right? What's endorphins?
Happy.
It's happy. Feel good. Exactly. Notice there's an S on the end, so it's a combination of a bunch of different chemicals. And basically, it's the body's pain reliever. So, you've ever heard of the expression, runner's high, right? Excuse me, that's when the oxytocin, or the endorphins kick in, and you suddenly don't feel any pain at all running that last 5 miles of your marathon. So DOSE is what we're hoping to supply all the time. Thank you so much, that's great. Questions? You have questions? So dopamine is a feeling of satisfaction, reward. Serotonin is hopefulness, goals, and what's going on in my group. Where am I with my group? Yes?
Do you know of any ways to promote the dose, and particularly the endorphin?
Absolutely.
Sex up there.
Absolutely. So if you want dopamine, give people something. Right? So there should be a pencil for everyone in the room. Right? There's your gift. Woo! But now you have a little presentation you can do at your next party. So one of the things that we want to do with the pencil is, now these are nice fresh pencils just out of the package, so don't worry. One of the things you can do with the pencil, put it in your lips. You look at somebody who's holding a pencil in their lips, and what do you see on the corners of their mouth? A downturn. That's the way you got to hold the pencil in your mouth. You hold the pencil in your mouth with a downturn. Here is what Amy Cuddy and others have discovered. You keep a pencil in your mouth like that for 2 minutes, and it will make you feel lousy. But the point is, your body is using muscles that are associated with discomfort and unhappiness. And the message comes back to your nervous system, things are not well. Got it? This is really clear description of the body-mind connection. But the pencil comes to the rescue. Put it in your teeth like this. And all of a sudden, your muscles are saying, this is what I do and I'm happy. And if you do this for 2 minutes, you will feel better. So if you're in a grumpy mood, grab a pencil, put it in here, and walk around with it for about 2 minutes. And you will feel better because your body is telling your brain, I'm happy. This is so interesting to me that the gestures and postures we have come from inside, but you can also use them consciously to go inside and change the way you feel. So this is a great technique. What we're talking about here is connecting with other people. I'm suggesting you use smells and tastes. I'm suggesting that you breathe with other people and watch those gestures, encourage people to move in some way. How do we encourage endorphins? Really great. We mostly associate it with strenuous exercise. But when you stretch, do this with me right now. Really stretch. Hold it for a second and feel it deeply. Yeah, that's it. Breathe into it. You're feeling those endorphins. So I really appreciate Terry for inviting me. I'm so grateful to be here again and see you folks. And Bill, thank you very much for this wonderful setup. Thank you for your attention. Just real quickly, if you're interested, there's a an interest sheet that you can fill out, and I offer 40 minutes of free consultation about your speeches. So if you fill one of these out and give it back to me, then we can get together. Thank you.
Chance, we have one last task for you.
Over here.
Oh, here it is on the table. We have a raffle, and this week the prize is the consolation prize is from Dan, and it is cinnamon creamed honey from Be Kind and honey in a comb, so nice consolation prize. So we have a deck of cards, and they have to draw out the ace of spades. But in order to get that opportunity to do so, they bought a ticket. And if you would draw one of those, we will match it up with the winner. Drum roll of evil. And the winner is 8283. Oh, so close. No? Going once, going twice.
It's over here.
Okay. Oh, we had a lot of extra tickets on the table, so we can,
$50 bills.
yep. You might be drawing several times. 8275.
Oh, dear.
Ah, Michael. Thank you, Chance.
This is actually Mark Olson, but
Oh,
acting on his behalf.
on his behalf.
So if I win, he wins.
Charge a fee for service.
Get it?
Ooh, two of the clubs, so close.
Well,
So
fine.
close. But since there are two prizes, I would think that, yeah, yeah.
When he did this,
There
that's
you
what
go.
he spoke. He forgot.
So, way clean joke of the day, Nancy.
And I am standing in for Nancy, not quite as good looking, but, so, the rugged outdoor woman.
Wait a second, man.
And I have to wear my glasses because I'm disabled in my years. The rugged outdoor woman. During her physical examination, the doctor asked the retired woman about her physical activity level. The woman said she spent 3 days a week, every week, in the outdoors. Well, yesterday afternoon was typical. I took a 5-hour walk about 7 miles through some pretty rough terrain. I waded along the edge of the lake. I pushed my way through 2 miles of brambles. I got sand in my shoes and my eyes. I barely avoided stepping on a snake. I climbed several rocky hills. I went to the bathroom behind some big trees. I ran away from an irate mother bear and then ran away from one angry bull elk. The mental stress of it all left me shattered. After the end of it, all I drank a scotch and 3 glasses of wine. Amazed by the story, the doctor said, "You must be one hell of an outdoor woman." "No," the woman replied, "I'm just a really, really shitty golfer."
What do you think, Nick? Joe, will you take us out?
Trails to you until we meet again.